Everyone's talking about AI replacing office workers, but what about tradies? Are robots actually coming for people on the tools? The honest answer is yes, but not evenly. Some tradies already have real robots on sites today. Others are probably more safer than an office job. So today I'm ranking the trades that are most likely to be taken over by new tech and AI to the ones that I think are pretty safe, including my own, which is commercial refrigeration. And turns out there's one pretty simple rule. If your job is straight, flat, miserable, repetitive, predictable, unfortunately, robots are going to love your job. But if your job is messy, awkward, involves crawl spaces, it involves diagnosis, physical, if it's regulated, and if it's different every single day, robots are going to find it a little bit harder to take on these type of roles. The good news is robots aren't taking over every single tradie, but the bad news is some of you are cooked. Right. Number one, and this one's happening on sites right now, which is brick and block layers. Bricklaying is probably the clearest example of trades being taken over by robotics. It's physical, it's pattern based, and a lot of their work evolves around straight runs. And the robotics that are taking over this already exist, as I said before, and they're on site right now, which I'll show you. One of the first big names is SAM 100, which stands for Semi-Automatic Mason. It was built by a company called Construction Robotics. It's basically a bricklaying assistant with a conveyor belt and robotic arm that actually picks up and places the blocks perfectly into place. This thing looks pretty wild. First commercially available bricklaying robot for on-site masonry, launched in 2015, with an inbuilt conveyor belt, robotic arm, and concrete pump. The SAM 100 lays over 3,000 bricks a day versus a human's 300 to 500 per day. So that's almost 10 times faster than an average brickie. Apparently they've already built grocery stores, apartment buildings, universities, all across the US. And as expected, this is mainly used for long straight walls, mainly used in the commercial side, as it still struggles with corners. This thing looks pretty crazy though, like some of the work that it's doing. Big setup though. Very big setup. Very similar to the SAM 100, let me introduce you to the Hadron X. I hope I pronounced that right. Built by a company called FBR, actually located in Australia, Perth. This thing's fully mobile. It looks like it could set up anywhere just outside of a site. This is pretty crazy. Mounted on a truck, drives to site and builds directly from a 3D CAD file. That's wild. I could see this thing building loads of houses later on. I could see something like this becoming quite large in Australia, especially because we have a trade shortage. And man, if you can just pull up to site, whip that bad boy out and get going, it's got a 32-meter robotic arm. This can lay over 1,000 bricks per hour. And that's just crazy compared to the SAM 100. If an average human can lay 300 to 500 bricks per day, and this is doing 1,000 in an hour, and it's mobile, this is going to go big. It can work day and night, wind and light rain. In 2024, it completed 10 homes in Florida in the US. CRH, which is one of the world's biggest building materials companies, has put in $40 million into this. Man, this thing looks wild. If you could get an army of these set up, that would be a good business idea if you got the amount of capital. I couldn't imagine how much these would cost. If you could set up a fleet of these, that would be sick. You could do hundreds of houses per year. Now, let me introduce you to the Vulcan. The Vulcan is made by a company called Icon and is a 3D concrete printer. Like the Hadron, this can also set up on site and it gets started from a 3D file. The Vulcan doesn't need any formwork, doesn't need any labor hire, doesn't need any brickies. You can set it up on site, put in your 3D file, and it'll print you out a house. And the new model, which is called the Titan, now prints multi-story structures. No idea how the f does that, but that's wild. From a print too. Now, I'm not saying every brickie's gone tomorrow. These machines are best suited for straight, repetitive work. And they're not really suitable for any renovations, any small work that you might need to get done, heritage work or messy job sites. At least you can't blame the apprentice from the wars out of level. One trade down. Now the next one might surprise you because some of these operators are quite skilled, which brings us into excavators and Earthmovers. Excavator operators are highly skilled, so this one might annoy a few people. From a robotics point of view, earth moving is quite attractive. These systems have got GPS, LiDAR systems, cameras throughout, and multi-sensors. And one simple question: did we move the dirt in the right spot? One of the biggest companies here is Built Robotics. They make a system called the Exosystem, which is basically an autonomy kit you can fit to most excavators. So instead of building a whole entire new machine, the idea is that you can take an existing earth mover or excavator and turn it into an autonomous vehicle for things like trenching and solar farm work. Turns out these kits can strap onto almost any existing excavator. Comes fully equipped with 360-degree cameras, proximity radar, I'm assuming that's LiDAR, GPS, and a liquid-cooled computer. All installed under one day. You can control these via an app from anywhere in the world. So they've already moved 65,000 cubic yards of earth. That's a 130-acre site with no driver. These things look sick. Their website's really cool. It shows you in great detail what the actual kit up looks like, what you get. And then you got the big boys like Caterpillar and Komatsu, I think I said that right, who have been working on these automation machines for years. They're mainly targeting the mining sector though, so it's not really B2B like the Built Robotics is providing. Even Caterpillar, some of these machines are just, we're so futuristic right now, it's pretty wild. They also have GPS and LiDAR systems within their machinery as well. The future might not be zero operators, but it's most likely going to be one supervisor operating multiple machines across the site, which is good because a robot doesn't call up sick on a Monday. So are you sensing the pattern yet? Repetitive, measurable, predictable. Robots are there. Now that leads us onto a trade where half of it exposed and half of it isn't, which is painting. Now painting as a whole's risk isn't quite high, only the commercial side. So if you're a commercial or industrial painter, I would keep close attention. Robots have been painting cars in factories for decades. So the idea of robot painting isn't new. What's changing is that companies are now pushing this type of tech into commercial builds. But I can't lie, this looks really, really cool. The first one on here we've got is PaintJet from Robotics Commercial Painting. PaintJet offers a robot called Bravo. Now Bravo paints 14 times faster than the average person. Well, painter, I should add. I don't know about you guys, but if you're calling yourself a tradie as a painter, I don't know. So according to their website, real-time predictive imaging adjusts every single stroke on the fly. And it uses about 25% less paint due to precision application and near zero overspray. Bravo has already been deployed across warehouses and manufacturing facilities and also commercial buildings across the US. And they raised $17 million to scale this project. Then you've got companies like Okibo. I think I said that right. We're gonna go with it anyway. Which again is another robot for painting, but this one also does drywall finishing, which is quite interesting. So their canvas robot can actually do sanding, skimming, and prep of the surface. The reason why commercial painting is exposed is simple. Big flat walls, warehouses, car parks, factories, and facades are much easier for a robot. Residential painting is much harder because of the furniture, the trim, the patching, the tight spaces, the color changes, and also the clients trying to match what they want on site. So if you're a painter doing residential work, you're much, much more safer. But if you're the type of painter that's spraying hundreds of meters of walls, your job might be at risk. As robots have been painting cars for decades, they just haven't got to the walls yet. Keyword is yet. You're starting to see the pattern. Next is welding. Now, where you work in welding is going to affect this answer completely, as welding needs a proper split, as factory welding and site welding are two completely different worlds. If you're in a factory welding the same part, in the same jig, with the same weld, hundreds of times per day, robots are generally good at that. Automotive manufacturing is full of robotic arms from companies like ABB, FANCU, KUKA, just to list a few. And I've got to say, some of their machinery here looks quite impressive. Unfortunately, these dominate the automotive and manufacturing world almost globally. The same weld being repeated thousands of times is just so much more efficient to have one of these arms. They're faster, cheaper, and more efficient. Some of these systems are running 90% faster than the average human. But it's not just giant car factories. Smaller fabrication shops actually use collaborative welding arms, or cobots, from from companies like Universal Robots. These arms are quite impressive. It looks like you can set it once and all you've got to do is pull in and out the next piece that you need to get welded. The cobot arms are set up for repeatable use. There is no giant factory setup needed, accessible for smaller operations. These robots can run indefinitely without getting tired, without asking for time off. Why would you not go with these? But site welders and repair welders are in a totally different category. If the job is awkward, dirty, custom, confined, bent, cracked, or even underdocumented, humans are still way ahead. But here's a fun fact from the US Bureau of Statistics. And from their data, it shows there's been a 0% growth forecast for welding jobs through to 2033. That's not a collapse, it's being absorbed slowly. So it's not quite a wipeout overnight. If you're a welder like a site welder, a shipyard welder, or a custom fabricator, these variable conditions are going to keep your job safe. So production welding is at high risk, while site welding and custom welding is much, much safer. It's funny how robots love controlled environments, while actual tradies live their whole entire career in the total opposite. But that gap is keeping these jobs alive. Next one on the list is concreters. Concreting as a whole is not going away anytime soon, but there are parts that are definitely exposed. The risky parts are layout, screeding, leveling, and 3D printed structures. For example, first one we got here is the HP Site Print robotic layout printer. It's a little robotic printer that drives around the slab and prints set out markings directly onto the concrete via digital plans that you upload to the robot. Oh yeah, you can see it driving around making a few markings. Hey, at least you know they'll be accurate. So this little machine drives across slabs, prints out set out markings for digital plans. Every single wall location, every single penetration, all marked automatically from the model. 2 blokes with a chalk line and a spray paint, full day, or you can set this robot up and get it done in 2 hours. Actually, this robot is currently on sites right now and you can go out and buy one of these. The next one on the list is autonomous screeding and leveling. Madwell has on their website, commercially available right now by the way, these autonomous screeders. Now, that all sounds insane, but here's the important part. Printing wall structures is not the same as completing a house. You still need foundations, reinforcement, services, waterproofing, inspections, and finishings. Don't forget the defect list. And unfortunately, it'll be humans dealing with all these things. So robots won't be replacing concreters anytime soon, but they are replacing certain sectors of the trade. But in saying that, that's taking large chunks of the trade as we progress into the future. Like they're 3D printing a house in 18 hours. 5 down, now we're getting a little bit safer. Next up, grab your stilettos because the electricians are next. I gotta say, most Sparkies have got to be pretty relieved over this one, as electricians are safer than most people would think. The work is regulated, it's variable, it has high risk responsibilities, but that doesn't mean nothing changes. Now, the big robot to know here is the Hilti J-Bot. I think J-Bot, one of them, which is a semi-autonomous robot built and designed for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services. This thing looks pretty sick. From Hilti too, pretty reputable brand. If you're within the trades, I'm sure you know them. I'm sure most trades would know them from their, what do you call them? The nail guns and the concrete guns. So this robot reads the digital building model, navigates the floor, positions itself, drills holes. It even marks them afterwards and sucks up all the dust as well. It can run 8 hours continuously on one charge and is on real job sites right now since 2020. This isn't a bad idea because I could see, for example, through my trade, hanging uni-strut, running pipe, you could set one of these machines up to run your straights. You can go back through with your HKDs. Wouldn't be a bad idea to be honest with you, but looks to be quite expensive. But the actual trade work, wiring, testing, fault finding, diagnosing, working with live current is still very human heavy. And with renewables like EV batteries and EV charging stations even, the demand for Sparkies is still quite massive. According to the Clean Energy Council, Australia needs 32,000 more electricians by 2030. And that's just for the renewables transition alone. Solar, wind, battery storage, EV chargers, data centers, they all need licensed Sparkies. The demand is outrunning any realistic automation timeline right now. Don't worry Sparkies, I couldn't see this robot volunteering to go in any crawl spaces anytime soon. Only one left, and the safest trade on the list. And before I say it, I'm not just saying it because it's my trade, there is actual data that backs this up, and that is refrigeration and HVAC, and plumbing. You are the safest on this list. These are the trades that'll be the safest for the longest period of time, especially service breakdowns and diagnostics. Plumbing, HVAC, and refrigeration all happen in unpredictable environments. You're under sinks, inside walls, in roof cavities, rooftops and plant rooms, around old equipment, water, electricity and gas pressures, and every single job is different. That would be a nightmare for a robot. Now, there is tech coming on this, but it is very far off. The closest robot we've got to taking our jobs as a refrigeration technician and plumbers, you would see from companies like Tesla or Figure AI, which are the companies working on humanoid robots like Optimus. As Tesla has positioned itself as the leader in robotic labor for our future, only seeing Optimus's robots doing daily tasks like picking up clothes, maybe even washing some dishes, but pretty far off. But I wouldn't count them out, as later on down the track I could see them doing things like changing filters in air conditioning units, which may be a stretch, but that's the closest thing we got. Here's an interesting fact for you. Elon Musk has a target for 1 million Optimus robots to be in production annually every single year. And he'll have his own robots in his factory building more robots. So it seems pretty clear that these robots can do basic tasks. But as for climbing up ladders, getting in roofs, doing stuff that either plumber or refrigeration tech can do, it's nowhere near. As there is a massive difference in a robot changing a HVAC filter and diagnosing a refrigeration fault on a greasy ass roof. And if you're a HVAC technician, we've actually got a few bonuses for you, because looking into the data that I've pulled for this video, I've found out that in Australia, Amazon committed $20 billion for Australian data center infrastructure by 2029. Microsoft has committed $5 billion, and Blackstone paid $24 billion for AirTrunk, which is an Australian company. And this is good for us as tradies in the commercial refrigeration side and HVAC, because all these data centers, they're gonna need refrigeration. The amount of heat that they produce is insane. Data center capacity is projected to be more than triple by 2035. Correlating, the HVAC and refrigeration demand grew by 67% between the years of 2022 and 2026. It's funny how the same AI everyone's saying it's going to take over tradies literally needs us to stay alive. And as a refrigeration mechanic, I'll say it straight. The robot that replaces me is not built yet. Not because tech won't improve, but because the breakdown of work that we do is just chaos for them. 7 tradies, 1 pattern, repeatable gets replaced, and chaos stays human. So the takeaway is simple. Robots aren't replacing every single trade. They're replacing the boring, predictable, repetitive sides of the job first. If your trade is mostly straight lines, repeated movements, and digital plan, you should be paying attention. But if your trade needs diagnosis, problem solving, awkward accesses, and dealing with the real world chaos, you're much, much safer. So don't just be the person who repeats a task. Be the person that can diagnose, can adapt, communicate, and use tech better than everyone else. Robots are coming for the boring parts of the trade, so don't be the boring part. Comment your trade down below and I'll let you know what I think, if it's going to be replaced or not.